In today's fast-paced and ever-evolving world, where work occupies a significant portion of our lives, it has become imperative to assess and understand the dynamics of working environment and work culture. My guest on the program will tell us more about this changing dynamics and importance of a healthy work culture after this break. Please stay with us. Many thanks for staying tuned. The program is Big Talk. You're watching us live from the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Queen Agaba, and I am joined by my guest, who is a human resource personnel and a public affairs analyst, Wanda Buchi Ndika. I'm glad to have you on the program. Welcome, Wanda.
Thanks for having me.
Well done. Wanda, it's almost difficult to differentiate people from their work, as your job has almost become a lifestyle. And so it is important, we discuss and we get to know about a healthy work culture. So what is a healthy work culture for you?
Okay, before I'll define a healthy work culture, I would like to define what work culture is. So work culture is the basic beliefs and a collection of the basic beliefs, the status quo, the behavioral status quo, and the etiquettes for a working environment, which influences the employees grasping from the company or organization policies. So that's basically a work culture. So having an understanding of work culture, a basic work culture will be a culture, a working culture that encompasses both, that is creating an atmosphere for very good and for employees to bring good outputs, to be able to deliver good outputs, and also a way of capturing employees to have a good atmosphere and so that they could give their best.
Okay. And having a good atmosphere. When you talk of having a good atmosphere, I want you to be specific. So you're saying employees having a good atmosphere. What is not a healthy work culture?
Okay. What I'll call a not so healthy work culture are policies. Stringent policies that have been stringent policies that affect the colleagues, that affect the employees. We're talking about like the toxicity. We're talking about hostility. Mm-hmm. We're talking about it encompasses a lot. So not so healthy work culture is, I'll basically say, a not so healthy work culture is a work culture that creates policies that is not so friendly to employees, and so it makes it a very, very toxic and tensed atmosphere to work. So when I'm talking about not so good work culture, it's more probably favors just the company or the upper hierarchy as against the employees so much, in which it's not so balanced and you cannot get the best out of employees.
Okay, so please give me an instance. I'm an employee. And in instances where I want to know if abuses, instances where I'm not spoken to properly as an employee, instances where you talked about structure. Now, I don't want it to. I want to know. Not having structure, not having proper structure, does that mean that is not a healthy work environment? Does it have to do with the size of the organization, or it's basically the management or the system.
Yeah, okay. So let's talk about structure. Structure is basically the skeletal background with which the skeletal background, it's like a skeleton. It's like a skeleton. It helps the employee. It helps the employee understand what the wherewithal of the company. So when we're talking about a very good working structure, we're talking about not having a good working structure. Of course, it's going to be stringent to employees because that most of the times it's hard to understand what you have to do. We're just talking like an amoeba now. An amoeba doesn't have a shape, so it doesn't have a structure. So it's going to be anywhere at any time. But when there is a structure, you know where to align, and it's easy to perform.
Wanda, are you implying that organizations where there are no, where we have startups where they're not necessarily structured, but no proper structure yet? Are you saying that such organizations are not healthy? That's what I'm asking. Are you saying they are not healthy? Because
no, we're just talking like structure is the skeleton. Even a baby born is born with a skeleton, and then it informs the structure of the baby. So organizations that are starting up needs to have structure. It is an importance for them to have structure, very good structure, so they can grow. So it's a structure is just the status quo. It could improve, it could be modified, but there is a status quo, a structure where everything lies and aligns with. So it doesn't matter how big it is or how small it is. What is important is how things are placed and how things run. That must be a status quo for everybody to understand this is how things work. So basically that's
okay. So I would want you to tell me the importance. Why is it important to have a healthy work environment, or why is it important to have a good working culture? Why it's important? I know that I understand that the importance are numerous, but I want you to just state how significant it is, especially for employees.
Okay, so the working culture informs the environment, the atmosphere of the working environment. So the structure that is set, the culture sets up the structure, and how balanced the structure is or the culture informs the working environment, the atmosphere that is created, because it is perceived by the people who have to work, who are exposed to this culture. So how it's the perception of these people of whatever structure you have placed, or whatever the culture of the working place actually informs how the atmosphere is, because it is a give and take. What you receive is what you give. How you perceive what you receive is how you react. So you pour me hot water, of course I'll shout. And so it's just that way. So definitely how the structure is set up is that is the culture, and it informs the atmosphere. I don't know.
Okay, so I understand that a healthy work environment would promote effectiveness in the workplace. Employees are, able to express themselves, and I also understand the importance of a healthy work environment as a creative. And we've had cases, even online, we have cases where tons and tons of cases where people, come out and talk about workplace toxicity and how it affects the well-being of these individuals. And this has, prompted a need, to delve deep into talking about this workplace culture. Now, we've talked basically more about management and structure. We should also understand that employees have a role to play as well. So what are the responsibilities? Now, I know that responsibilities for employees can be relative as regards to your job description, but what I'm asking is generally, what are the responsibilities, or how do you say that an employee is not contributing to a healthy work environment?
Okay. Yeah, like you said, water pours from up and goes down. So let's take it structurally. First of all, there has to be an understanding that the employee doesn't create the working structure. He comes into the working structure and functions in it. So the employee coming into the working structure there has to be a basic understanding of what is expected of him or her. So coming into a working structure, you have an understanding of this is my expectations, this is what I expect from my job, and this is what my job expects from me. And then it enhances your performance. So reacting rightly to whatever information you receive helps the atmosphere, helps your inputs into the company. So it's very, very important when structures are created, there should be a place of understanding to accommodate the employees, because they do not create these structures. But then when you make it very stringent for them, what happens is that you begin to have a lot of scuffles, you begin to have a lot of you can't get efficiency from it. So you have to there has to be, when there needs to be an adjustment to accommodate employees, it has to be made fast, not expecting them to be overstretched, because when employees are overstretched, you can't get continuity. So I think it's a two-way thing. But basically, so answering your question, the part the employee plays is understanding what is expected of him. Now, there is an expectation and an understanding for what is expected of you in a working environment. And so the expectation is, when you come into the working environment, what is expected of me? And what do I expect my office to give to me? Having a basic understanding of these things helps you perform properly and give your best to enhance the organization you came to work with.
Thank you very much. I would want to know how a healthy work environment can be promoted now, citing the benefits of having a healthy work environment and signs of a healthy work environment. How can we, as an organization, promote a healthy work environment?
Okay. So the organizations now, right? The organization promoting a healthy working environment is basic. You need to understand, the organization needs to understand what are your expectations of your employee. What are the expectations they have of you? Do you satisfy their expectations? What do you do to satisfy them or to bring them close to satisfactory? So,
sorry, in terms of expectation, what are these expectations? Can you highlight these expectations that employees would
okay, I was going there. Like I was saying earlier, for every working environment, when you come into a working environment, you must have an expectation. What do I expect from my office? And what does my office expect from me? Now, what you should expect from your office is not a lot. You expect your pay, a possible leave, you expect your calling time, your closing time. If there's going to be an overwork time.
Prior notice.
Yeah, no, that's I'm talking about the pay for overwork time. There are times when people work beyond their labor time and they are paid for it. So these are things that are your expectations from your office. You understand? You don't expect your office, you fell ill and your office is supposed to understand. Your office expects you to perform. Find a way to make things work. You cannot come and get so feeble in an office and expect the office to understand with you. It's not an expectation. So we need to understand what the expectations are from our offices. Of course, there are laws in the nation that really kind of alleviates a little stiffness to these things. Like I would say, like in a case where someone was working and he maybe incurred an injury and is not able to perform at the level he was expected to perform, there are laws that that cover them, and they could still be assimilated in the same, kept in the system, and they can still work and get paid, because like in the military they call it on active duty. So injuries on active duty, fatalities and all that. So these are expectations you have of your office. Now, what are the expectations of your office? Understanding your duties. You have to understand your duties from the office. You have to understand your call time. You also have to understand your response to hierarchy. Understanding your response to hierarchy is very, very expedient. It's not something you can dabble with. So there are so many expectations. Most times when you come into a working atmosphere, you have a prospectus, and then the office lines out everything that is expected of you. It is important for an employee to understand. So it is either you take it or leave it. You see what is expected of you and you run with it. Not come, there are times when people come and say, these people they're too stiff, they're too blah, 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 they're too blah, blah, blah. Well, that's what the work entails. But now, still saying what you are saying, from the part of the top hierarchy, there has to be an understanding. There has to be an understanding to accommodate the employees so that they can achieve efficiency, basically.
Okay. So, a lot of people are not fortunate enough to, aside, doing your research, I know that as an employee, I'm talking from the employee angle, as an employee trying to get into an organization, after doing proper research, a lot of people are not, I'd use the word fortunate enough to know about the organization's culture, most especially until they get in. So how do you, now I'm talking about toxic in this sense now, how can you tell from the very get-go that an organization is healthy for you? Give an instance, you walk into a place and all that, how can you tell?
Okay, I walked into this place, and when I walked into this place, I saw the communication. It wasn't hard to know that this is the boss. I saw somebody who is placed high, and I saw the communication between him and his employers. I saw the communication with them and between a lot of you, and I was impressed. There was a very good atmosphere. So first of all, having understood, sometimes you even understand you understand what is expected of you, but then there's still this toxicity in the atmosphere. It is just a stringent, one stiff something that keeps coming in. Why do we have this? Sometimes people bring in their personal issues into the working place and all that, and some people really need help. And all these people are really injected into our working atmosphere, especially just in the top hierarchy. They bring in their, a lot of things, a lot of insults, a lot of communication, some wrong ways to communicate. I know communication is everything. There is no how you can relate properly and get back properly when we are not open to communicating properly. So it's very, very important when I come into an atmosphere, the communication between everybody and understanding our roles. When we're playing our roles, people are trying to play their roles. It's easy to understand. You see that they are playing their roles and there is no fear of being, massacred or attacked by one boss or the other. Another thing again that informs me, like I said, structure is very important. Structure is very, very important. You've heard about the structure, you've heard about the continuity, because there's a lot of places where you have people never really last in that office. Everybody can't really be wrong and one person be right. That's the truth. So in this case, you have a place where an employer keeps hiring and firing. He doesn't have continuity. He cannot be trusted.
So in that case, you make research from the employee angle, you make research as regards continuity.
It's very important. It's almost impossible to work with those people. And nobody wants to work in a place where you cannot have continuity to grow, and you need time to express the best in you. So when you don't have a chance for continuity, continuity also has to do with accommodating mistakes and errors. So continuity is all encompassing in all these things. So when you work in a place, you find yourself in a place, you find yourself having enough lenience to express yourself, having time, depending on what your task is, to adjust and keep up to the pace. These are things you look out for.
Just briefly, you mentioned, people having to deal with personal issues, and that could be, it could affect, the communication or affect the work environment. As an employee, how do you deal with your personal issues not interfering with your work, owing to the fact that I remember we established that, your work is almost, these days, is a lifestyle for you, it's part of you. So how do you manage emotions? I know you're not a psychologist, but from the human resource angle, how does an employee manage emotions so that it doesn't interfere with work and...
This is really basic here. There is no accommodation to it. Like I said, continuity has to be brought in for employees to adjust. There must be time for employees to adjust depending on what the task is and their time frame. But then managing the emotions by every employee, I don't think there is much to do with management. It's understanding what's expected of you and deliver. That's exactly what I see. I don't think there is much expected because when you go through as a human resource person, when you go through you go through your the expectations that you have that as a human resource person that is required of an employee. Most of the time it is response. Get an information and respond to it. Get an information and respond to it. But so these are signs, these are things that is expected of an employee. You understand? So there is no much thing to it. It is response to your employee. Whether you have a problem or you don't have a problem, as an employee, what's expected of you is respond to every information and every instruction that is given to you to abide by. Thank you very much, Mr. Wonder. As an employee, what is required of you is to respond to every information that is required. We've been speaking with Wonder Nduka Buchi on Big Talk, and he has spoken extensively about the importance of having a healthy work environment. Thank you very much, Mr. Wonder, for coming on the show today. We're really glad to have you. That's where we wrap it up on the program Big Talk. My name is Queen Agaba. Thank you so much for tuning in, and please don't forget to follow us on all our social media handles showing on your screen right now. Thank you. Until next week.